Loren said it best. We're not done yet. Nerd up, nerd up, nerd up. Woo, 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 woo.
The wacky world of MultimediaJay.
Our exercise in futility continues! For those of you just tuning in, basically this is my old 2007 system running off a Core 2 Duo E6750 from back in the day, of course paired up with the 1050 Ti that I picked up for the Delosaurus. This is a lesson in futility and why you can't just buy an $80 refurb, slap in a graphics card, and have a gaming PC. Although if you are playing older, lighter games, you'll be fine. But anything even The Crew is, yeah, well, let's just say that 100% CPU never, ever, ever, ever drops. This processor is choking on this game. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to fire the game back up. Now, I've gone through and I've modified every setting that can affect graphical performance. Let's not forget, ever since Windows 7, the Windows UI has used a little bit of the graphics card's resources, so I've turned off all the fancy stuff like font smoothing, and then I've gone into the NVIDIA control panel and set everything to high performance, because if you're trying to make a system like this work, you're not going to be like, oh well, my computer doesn't work. You're gonna tweak every last setting that there is that's tweakable in order to try and get 30 frames per second or whatever by whatever means are necessary. Let's fire up the Crew and see if setting all these to high performance made any difference whatsoever.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Camcorder Let's Play Mode. Welcome back to virtual Florida. And it's now daytime and there's some adverse weather here. And welcome back to struggling like crazy to get to 30 frames per second. And welcome back to the game looking horrible and playing horrible. None of this made a difference. The processor is absolutely stuck at 100% no matter... Oh, yeah, that's right. There's a guardrail there. Oh, man. At least we can still use the nitros. That must be like Miami Airport or something like that way over there. But, yeah. So, yeah, frame rates in the 20s. Once again, the game resembles Cruisin' USA a bit more than it resembles The Crew. And, again, out of a nod to the gaming, to the console generation that this hardware was a rival to. Don't drown the car. Again, out of a nod to the console hardware that this was a rival to, I'm playing with a 360 controller. Although the analog sticks have less of a dead zone on the 360 controller versus the wired Xbox One controllers that I usually use. Wonder if I can make it to that island. Whoa, cool. This must be the Everglades. Now what about going back the other way? Oh, yeah, you could not do this with a real car, because the air intake would have sucked water into the engine by now. Yeah, Everglades! Woohoo! Gotta be the Everglades. It looks like it's that part of the map anyway. We killed it!
Epic fail.
Game? I went into photo mode. I don't know how many H.C. Bailey fans we have in the audience here, but some of you would recognize that line. Game? No, hell, I wasn't driving this Dukes of Hazzard mobile through way too much water for this to be even remotely realistic. Yeah, watch out there. Hello, this is HC MultimediaJay, and welcome back to Let's Play Choke the Core 2 Duo. Have a good day. This is terrible. And, yeah, so we're struggling to get out. We're struggling to stay above 20 frames a second. Let's try turning down the graphics via dropping the resolution. So, by the way, chilling at Jay's Geek House is going to be this relaxed kind of stuff when I bring it back. Messing around with something like a benchmark or a game or something like this. Basically, I should be able to record these things sitting on the couch. Here's the lowest resolution that we can run this thing at without going without losing widescreen. 1176 by 664. Did it make a lick of difference? No! We're still stuck in the 20s! Come on, let me nitro out of the swamp here. And now it looks like a Gran Turismo game from PS1. If we drop the resolution any further, it would have plenty of jaggies for that sort of thing. We want to go north. Yeah, this looks terrible. This is down around PS1 territory in terms of how it looks. Unfortunately, the camcorder Let's Play thing is going to drown out the colors a bit, but on the native display, this looks awful. Now, mind you, Tuxedo flies all over this game in 1080p. Never mind Monolith. Matter of fact, Monolith kind of does like power save mode and stuff like that. I think that's actually the last thing that we should do, is check out the power efficiency of this setup. I do have things cranked to high performance as much as possible, but I did leave the graphics card in adaptive mode. And as you can see, 30 frames per second is completely eluding us. We would probably have to go out to the southwest in order to get 30 frames a second. Let's try that. Now we finally get something between 30 and 60 frames per second when there's nothing on the screen and nothing is going on. We had 45 frames a second. I'm just basically fishtailing the car on purpose so it can actually move on the screen, but this is pitiful. Oh man. Frame rate. Well, still in the 30s anyways, but yeah, this is definitely down there with PS1, both in how it looks and how it plays. And also, notice how the processor is completely maxed out, while the graphics card is having a little bit of a snooze there at 26% utilization. Oh man. There's only one thing left to do with all this. Kilowatt the whole deal.
It's kilowatt time! About a watt of standby power gets up to around, it clears the 100 mark just getting going. Come on, Core 2 Duo, let's see what you can do. We'll be back when this thing is sitting around not doing very much to get our idle wattage. And this, folks, is precisely the reason why I would not recommend that you cheap out and try and make a Core 2 system sing and dance these days. Notice how the processor isn't hardly doing anything, and yet over on the kilowatt, we're not dropping below 80 watts. Basically, this is the wimpy version of what happened with Tuxedo. This right here is precisely the reason why I decided to go Sandy Bridge for the new Delosaurus. I wanted an old chip, but I wanted an old chip that I would actually want to use. Here we are, Core 2 Duo E6750, and the 80 watts isn't coming from the power supply either. When this thing had a better power supply, the wattage numbers were still very much the same. We're talking the mid-2000s here. This is when, a computer not running super hot was considered energy efficient. Oh look, now the processor's being used again and we're clearing the 100 watt mark, and it drops off back to 5% and we're back down to 80. But this whole thing with green computing largely came with the whole situation with the tablets. This Core 2 stuff predates the iPad revolution. Matter of fact, this system is actually contemporary to when the original iPhone came out in the late 2000s. So, the whole mobile revolution hadn't even happened yet when this Core 2 hardware was hitting the streets. Within a couple of years, of course, we would find out that, computers were like desktop computers like this were like driving Mack trucks as your daily driver. Yes, they may have power, but they didn't have any efficiency, and the mobile devices crept in on the desktop's domain with better efficiency, and yet it could still do everything that you wanted to do as long as you didn't want to do anything too intense, like intense gaming. This is why I'm Captain Treehugger over here, and people may think I'm some kind of hippie wannabe or something, but this is why I focus on power efficiency when I build systems nowadays. Because the ultimate computer for me is not the fastest. I can get something easily that is nice and fast and does everything that I want it to do. But I also want it to ramp way the heck down and not guzzle a lot of power when I'm not slamming the heck out of the system. Monolith does a pretty good job with that. The Sandy Bridge Delosaurus does a pretty good job with that. This thing does not. It fails at everything. It can't handle newer games properly, and even when it's not doing anything too intense, bada bing, 80-something watts, minimum. And I remember these numbers being in this ballpark even when there was a more efficient 80-plus rated power supply in here.
Now this is what I'm talking about right here. This is what I call a system. A system where 1080p low, the same settings that Core 2 Duo couldn't handle, only use about 40% of the graphics card and a little under half the processor. Maybe. I'm totally getting my hippie on and doing my part to save the planet by not having a rotten, inefficient computer to play games on. And it gets even better. Jack the settings up to 1080p Ultra. By the way, I have fast mode turned on, so the processor will not keep trying to generate frames too far above 60 FPS. Okay, now the graphics card's actually having to do something, but the processor, less than half CPU usage. My kind of system! Woohoo! And that number would be even lower if this was an AMD Ryzen with tons of cores. Oh yeah. PC gaming, baby. Let's see your little PlayStations do this. Oh, look. Now the graphics card's taking it easy and not running at 100% anymore. Alright, that's enough messing around with the crew and that poor pathetic little computer with the silver bullet stuff in it. Why I mess with it, I don't know. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay, signing off. Thanks for stopping by.